Hey y'all, it's been a minute. It's been a long time. Should have never left you without no beat. Step two, step two. Anyway, hey y'all, we are back with another episode of the Sous Chefs. I am Chef Rob.
And I'm Chef Kimber.
And today we are talking to you all about why we are the Sous Chefs. We're going to be talking about some of our horror stories dealing with love interest cooking for us, and also giving you a little bit of our war stories from when we were in the kitchen professionally.
Ooh, and we got them. We have got them. It has been, I've been around a little bit longer than Robert. And I've shared some of these stories, but Robert has just as many exciting things to share. So what do you want to share with our three viewers? Hi, Chris.
Hey, Grandma. Hey, Mama. But no, so I want to start with I went on, oh my God, I've been online dating too long. But this was in law school. Oh my God, about 10 years ago, maybe 11.
So long.
And I was dating this dude who was studying to be a teacher. Super nice, super sweet. We had a great time. So then one day he invites me over and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna cook you dinner." So I'm like, "Oh, I don't turn down a meal that somebody's gonna cook for me. I just love that." And fam, I gotta paint the picture for you.
Set the stage, lay the foundation.
Okay, so this dude was like, "Oh, I'm gonna make you some fish." Now, I don't bake fish generally. Like, I might roast some fish, saute, fry, whatever.
Make some on papillote.
You know what I'm saying? But as a general rule, I've never baked fish.
Who's ever baking fish?
Apparently, baked tilapia had a couple of communities in a chokehold back in like around 2010, 2011.
Fam, please don't do this.
So I go over there and he's still cooking when I get there. And I'm like, "Okay, what we having with the fish?" And I'm thinking baked fish, you're gonna have like a potato, rice, something like that. This man made boxed macaroni and cheese, but he didn't follow the directions even a little bit.
Okay.
Took the macaroni, put it into cold water in like a saucepan, put just enough water to cover it, brought it up to a boil, dumped in the cheese packet, some butter, some milk, and then 3 different kinds of Mrs. Dash. So I'm sitting here like, and this is before I was a pasta cook professionally, but I also know that I don't want to overcook macaroni. So then we get to the fish. He pulls this tilapia out of the oven. Now, we all know how thin like a piece of tilapia is. So
please tell me he did not cook that for like 3 hours.
I know it was in before I got there, and it took him another 30 minutes to make boxed macaroni and cheese and mixed vegetables. I'm cool with mixed vegetables. A frozen mixed vegetable is super fine with me. But why are you boiling it? No, it wasn't even frozen. It was from a can. So, like, if you're going to use a canned vegetable, just slightly warm it. You know what I'm saying? Probably just throw it in the microwave. You know what I'm saying?
Like me.
But instead, he boiled the life out of these lifeless vegetables. I mean, mushy peas, green beans were disintegrating in the pot. Again, 3 different kinds of Mrs. Dash, 3 different kinds of Mrs. Dash on the fucking fish. And he was just so excited to give me this food. And I was just like, bruh, like my stomach was hurting. But I'm not a person who is going to hurt people's food. So that's just not what I do, especially somebody that's nice and that I'm dating.
But how did you eat the food though?
Well, he was staring directly at me, so I choked it down.
Oh.
And because I cleaned my plate, because
Oh no,
always been a member of the Clean Plate
he
Club.
didn't make you eat a second helping.
He tried. I was like, nah. I was like, like
Save some for dessert.
no. I said, I actually been working out and I'm on Weight Watcher, so like this is about as much as I can do. I had hella points left because I just left a ton of points in case it was something decadent and beautiful. And I don't know, man. Why do that to somebody?
It's funny you should mention. Can we just take a moment? Kraft, I'm sorry. I know that you try so hard to make your macaroni and cheese so easy. It's literally boil the noodles, drain the noodles, add the butter and milk and the packet, mix it together, and you're done. Somehow, there's some disconnection between the box, opening the box and pouring the pasta into a vessel that people forget to read the directions. So similar to this guy, my boyfriend right after college, now this dude is the youngest of 7 in an Irish Catholic family. Okay.
So it's a ton of these people.
And he really grows up thinking his mama is like the world's best cook. So I'm in cooking school literally at the time I'm dating this man. So I'm literally in culinary school. This guy is like, at the beginning of cooking school, he's like, yeah, it's too bad I didn't go to cooking school because, like, let me tell you about the first time me and my roommate made mac and cheese. So we pour 6 quarts of water into a pan. Whatever it is, like they tell you how much water to put in, however much it is that they said. He's like, well, I filled up the pan. He's like, I didn't have a measuring cup, so I figured I'll just fill up a saucepan. And I put the water in. I got it to a boil. I put in the pasta. I put in the cheese packet. I put in the milk. I put in the butter, and I started stirring. And I'm waiting. And I'm like, why is this not thickening? Certainly, it should be thickening. And I was like, but when did you drain the pasta? He's like, see, we didn't know to do that, so we didn't.
Oh my God. Why is that a thing that people do?
Clearly, it's a thing that people do. It's not that hard, fam. Like, this is I know you've been doing it since that time. Now, okay, we were on welfare. So sometimes we didn't have milk and butter. So my dad literally would just sprinkle the cheese on top of the naked noodles like it's Parmesan. And we have that dry ass powder. If it gets to the back of your throat, it burns. Like if you had just done a key bump or something like that.
Oh, dear.
I've never done it. I did snort coconut one time on a dare.
Why coconut?
That's all we had. I was 14. We did a lot of stupid shit then. Food related stuff. People like back to this boyfriend too. This motherfucker, I swear. So like, here's the thing. We're getting to be near Thanksgiving, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody's family has food traditions, Christmas as well. This was a Christmas story. And this is like one of those Christmas story fails that only I feel like I was in some weird Black Mirror episode where I fell into some kind of weird virtual reality where I'm the only one that knows this cannot be, but everybody else is like thinking everything's cool. So this would have been around, I don't know, 1997, let's say. And I go home for Christmas. This is the first and only time because we didn't stay together much longer. He takes me home and he's like, you will not believe my mama's cooking. Oh my God. This woman can cook like nobody's business. Everything she makes. The cordon bleu ain't got shit on her. Joel Robuchon can go fuck himself because let me tell you about the appetizers. And we love these appetizers. And I defy you to find something at the French Laundry as tasty as these homemade appetizers. Let me tell you the recipe. First, you take a piece of Wonder Bread, cut off the crusts, roll it flat, condensed mushroom soup. Gotta be Campbell's because we fancy.
Oh, God.
Spread that shit on there. And then stick a piece of bacon in it, roll it up, put a toothpick in it, and then stick it in the oven for 45 minutes.
45 minutes. What's the point?
These people were eating those things like they literally were crack, which wrong about this bitch's cookies? So this woman, so apparently her cookies are world famous. Famous got nothing on her. You ain't heard of this lady, and I'll tell you why. Because she's a very frugal lady. And what she likes to do is, you know, those like tins that you get at Christmas time with the cookies that people eat like a couple of these butter cookies. And then 3 months later, they realize they ain't at the cookies. Right. And now you got these stale ass cookies in a tin, and you're like, I'm not going to eat these cookies, but this tin I could use.
Exact sewing kit.
So she would save everybody's cookie tins. She would have people send her the tins. Like, it never occurred to her to like purchase her own new tins or to just not do this plan. So like this ill-fated plan, which had been getting executed on the regular for years. Now she makes allegedly the world's best chocolate chip cookie. Now, no bitch can make a cookie. Even though I had to do it in a toaster oven, like 2 or 3 cookies at a time, depending on the recipe. If they spread a lot, it's 2 cookies. And we're making cookies for 6 hours.
Oh my God.
But I know how to make a cookie. So I was like, oh, cookies that are going to blow my absolute mind. Right. And, you know, I'm going to have an orgasm the last 4 days because of this woman's cookies. So here's what this lady does. She starts baking cookies like in May. So Christmas is over. She's accumulated all the Swiss butter cookie tins, cleaned them out real nice, right. You know. She starts baking cookies. Now, does she make the dough and freeze it? No. Does she make the cookies and freeze them? She fully bakes the cookies, puts them very nicely in some like wax paper, puts them in the tin, and sticks on a shelf in the basement until it's Christmas. So hands that like literally is going down and sneaking these cookies. Like she's like, I have to make him extra because I know he's gonna sneak them. So she always makes these cookies, which are definitely stale within a week or 2.
Right.
But now it's December. And she's like, da 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 da. Puts the cookies down. Now these people attack this tin of cookies like it really was a mountain of cocaine, or like a dog who hasn't eaten in 3 years. They're like, I take one and I go like. I almost lost a bridge.
Oh my
like
God.
And it's like you know how Hagrid makes those cookies? These was like Hagrid's cookies. Don't eat the cookies. Just say no.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Cookies in
this point. I'm sorry. No offense. They tasted fine. They were really hard. But I'll tell you what, you can just make the dough
and freeze it
and then bake it on the day. I'm just saying, you could do it. You could do it.
You can even scoop them and portion them. That's what you take them off of them on
your family. You could literally just have one day. Everybody makes the cookies and they're still good the next day. It's fine. You could do that. I know this is your tradition, but I'm beginning to wonder if we all haven't been gaslighted by these baked goods.
That's why. You know, thinking of like a hard ass chocolate chip cookie. My dad fucking loved those hard ass Chips Ahoy.
Chips Ahoy. Oh,
now, I don't really have no beef with Chips Ahoy. I don't want it.
They're very hard.
I don't want it. But he even loved the soft ones. The soft ones are not anywhere near as good as the not great hard ones.
Did he at least dunk them?
In what?
Milk or whiskey? I don't know, something.
He's a grown black man, lactose intolerant like a mother.
Okay, fair.
But no, he just fucked them up. And I remember thinking, like, these not good. Like, I remember teachers would give us those damn cookies as a treat. And I'm thinking, like, where's the treat at, though?
I feel like trick or treat. You tricked us. You tricked us. Speaking of tricks, it's Halloween on Monday. And I just want to put out there that Generation X, my generation, like Robert's a millennial, I'm a Gen Xer, but I had to go through, I believe, the worst time for Halloween for the treats that we had. Now, here's where we may be soulmates, but we do have one way that we differ. Those gross peanut, orange and black candies, the low quality candies that they would put in your bag alongside the circus peanuts and the candy corns and the things and the Smarties and all that gross shit. He loved that shit.
I did like the peanut butter things. They're peanut butter. What's not to like? It tasted like a caramel peanut butter.
I've been into one of those one time and a tooth came out. I mean, okay, granted, I was 8 and it was probably going to come out anyway. But when your mouth
was it hard?
It was hard. They didn't have some nice ones.
Well, see, the ones that I had, they came in black and orange paper, wax paper, and when you unwrapped it, it was like a little peanut buttery caramel chip.
Here's the thing. I have a theory. In Urbana, Ohio, where I was growing up, there was literally one bag of these candies that just kept getting redistributed all year. Like, they would give it to the kids would give it to their parents, the parents would hand it out next year. Because that's what you do. This is what you do. You come home, you sort the candy into the highest quality full bars. Full bars are kind of a mystery, but in Urbana, Ohio, the Trout lines, they owned the grocery stores, they had full bars. If you were smart, you could plan your entire candy route, go there first, get the full Hershey bar, sometimes Mr. Good bar, but usually Hershey, come back again a second try, get 2 full bars, and then go to the Domino's for your free pizza. It was cheese, but still free.
It was cheese, but still free.
That's the end of the night. You go and you get your one sad slice of cheese pizza that is like the teeniest sliver that you can get. But listen, we were Gen Xers, so we didn't have any kind of supervision. We just ran wild for 3 or 4 hours, and we would go wherever. But when you're sorting your candy, it is incumbent upon you to get the highest quality, and then you get your chocolates, you get your fruity, your less acceptable Smarties, sweet tarts, and then like your circus peanuts and shit. Then you figure out
good and plenty.
Good and plenty. Foist onto the younger siblings.
Yes.
Because they were all about quantity over quality. So like you would take all of their chocolate, you would give them all of the crap. Now, I'm sorry, younger siblings, we're eldest. We had to put up with a lot of your bullshit. So you had this coming.
But see, everybody hated those peanut butter things. I didn't hate them. So Rachel would just give me hers. She was the baby, so I just let her give me hers. But Ryan, I made him pay to give them to me sometimes. So what I would be like, okay, here, I will take whatever the hell he wanted. You give me all of those and all of your flavored Tootsie Rolls. Not the chocolate ones. I have enough of those and I didn't want them. But the flavored ones, the vanilla, lime, oh my God.
I love that lime.
Orange. I think I need to go buy a bag of those. But anyway.
I need some you know what? No shade. I think we need to go get some Tootsie Fruitsies. Is the way they do it. Because they're made by the Tootsie Roll people.
Yeah.
In Chicago, by the way. I do believe they're called Tootsie Fruitsies or something. And they were my jam. I would eat those and I would trade my brother loved Tootsie Rolls. I wasn't a big fan. I would give him the Tootsie Rolls for his fruity ones.
Yeah, and I would take all his little peanut butter things, all his fruity Tootsie Rolls, and he could have whatever the hell it was. It was probably some chocolate shit. I was never a huge chocolate person, but if you gave me a Mr. Good bar,
ooh, I would fuck that up.
I might fuck a Mr. Good bar up now.
Special dark. See, the only
they got a dark Mr. Good bar? Oh.
That's the Hershey's. Well, you know what? Actually, they do for a hot minute. They did make all of the Hershey's miniatures that you really only got at holidays. And they do now have dark chocolate versions that they do have a dark. Yes, I know I just blew your mind. It is a fact. And they also come like dark crackle and dark Hershey's, and they may even have like a dark almond. So it's real. But I had a very refined palate even as a child. And I was very much into the special dark. So I would let people foist it onto me because for a kid it's kind of a
I didn't want that shit.
I was just like, oh, if I have to, well, fine, give me your special dark out ticket. I love that shit. So I'm sorry, my brother. But also, I'm not sorry because that motherfucker loved to hoard his candy. He was like a champion hoarder because, yes, we were poor and we only got candy twice a year. If we were lucky, we would get Easter candy. Sometimes we didn't. But the plan for my brother was to hoard that shit from October to April and to not, he would like, thought he was so clever. Like he'd stick it in his drawer under his pajamas. And I'm like, I can find the candy. Like, this is not hard. I'm 40 years older than you. You're 6, I'm 10. I'm going to find your candy. I'm also going to eat it. So I would, of course, start with the high value items because you have to. Okay, kids, listen close up. Real talk. Eat the chocolate first. Don't hoard the chocolate because what will happen is all of the fruity flavors will get into the chocolate. Everything tastes like Starburst at one point. Now, in my day, they don't do this anymore because the kids are not getting that double bubble gum or that like Bazooka Joe. That was what your candy would taste like within 3 weeks. And I knew. I mean, I didn't do this like double blind, but based on my own anecdotal evidence over the years, the longer the candy sat in my brother's pajama drawer, everything melded to taste stale Bazooka Joe. And that's the gum that loses its flavor on the way to your mouth. Because the minute it's unwrapped, it's exercise. The soul leaves it and it's just a little bit of dust on it. And when you put it in your mouth, that's it. That's it forever. So children, eat the chocolate first. Don't hoard the chocolate. The Twizzlers will be fine forever. The chocolate, not so much. Eat the chocolate first.
That's fair. That's good advice.
I think so. I mean, the children really shouldn't be watching this show. Sorry, Mom, for the language. But I just want to let you know, if your kid is 10, they're already swearing. When did you start swearing?
When did you swear? I remember, speaking of swearing, I remember this one time. So we, I don't know how old we were, but Ryan and I were little. And we went over to the neighbor's house. And I don't know what we were doing on their back porch. But for some reason, we just started screaming curse words. I remember saying fuck and motherfucker and bitch. Like I was just going off. And Ryan was there too. And we were just like hurling invective out the window. And then all of a sudden, Ryan stops. I'm like, what's wrong with him? Just going. And then he's like, and then he like points, and I look over at our house, and here's my dad, 6'6", muscular and terrifying. And he's like, get over here now. And so we're like, okay, we'll go. He's like, nope. You never go through the house, come out the back door and get over this fence like you normally do. I was just like, we're gonna die. We're gonna die. Because the thing is, like, we would like curse quietly on the bus. You know what I'm saying? Or like when we were at the playground, we might say shit. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. But for some reason that day we got some wild hair and we just started saying every word we had ever heard. And I was supposed to not pleased. I don't think we got a whooping or anything like that, but I know we were in trouble.
I just remember my grandma gave me so much shit for calling my brother a butt licker. Like sometimes
we couldn't say that as children.
This like when they make you not use the swears, sometimes saying butthole is worse. Like butt licker was like really bad, don't you? And it's worse than just saying asshole.
Yeah.
By far.
Because when you say asshole, I think of a person.
I think of a person, but when I think of a butt licker, I think of
I want to go first on this one. So this was like my second like cooking job. The restaurant is now closed. It was called N36. It was a wine bar. It was cute. The sous chef was this Black lady, and she is also my homie still to this day. But at the time, you know, she was just my chef. So, you know, I'm working saute. I'm in charge of the French fries, the chicken dinner, and a couple of other like the polenta, the meatballs and shit like that. Like, I gotta keep this stuff. And, you know, I got my garnishes and shit. Like, I done learned how to play. So, I mean, it's like a Friday night. And for some reason, people really love to order an airline chicken breast.
Oh my God.
I don't know why, but they love an airline chicken breast.
1997 called and they want their airline breast back. Come on.
And it like had jus and some kind of like roasted potato or something. And then I had to like slice scallions on the bias. And like I soaked them in ice water so they were like curled and nice and crisp. So it's Friday night, you know, we bumping. I mean, we got like 200 reservations. So we going. I'm dropping fries. I'm like new. So it's like, I think I had probably been there for like 2 months at that time. So, you want me to tell you about starting that job? I'm like, man, I'm trying to become like the sous chef or something like that. Like, I'm trying to get trained on everything. And Trina leans in and she says, chicken dinner on fire. So I'm like, oh shit, okay, cool. I had already seared some off. So all I had to do was like heat up my skillet, throw it into the 500-degree oven for like 15 minutes. So I'm like, I yell out my time, I'm done. Steak coming up, fish coming up, charcuterie is gone, salad is gone. I'm the star of the show. I reach down. Now I have the towel on my hand, but not fully. Now, this is a cast iron skillet that I heated up on the stove and then threw into a 500-degree oven for 15 minutes. I grabbed this fucking pan. It is burning the shit out of my hand. And I'm like turning around. I'm trying to like get it up on the stove so that I can plate the damn thing. The chef, Trina, I love you, girl. She leans into the past and says, don't you drop that fucking chicken. So I'm like, oh my God. And I'll put it on there and she's like, I need my chicken. I need my chicken, Rob. Rob, I need my chicken. And I'm like, this motherfucker here. Like, what the fuck? I'm clearly burnt. And so then she's like, where's my chicken? So I like I plate this motherfucking chicken. Beautiful. It's beautiful. I actually stop and take a picture of it. My fucking hand is burning. So then I like run to get ice. But she's like, Rob, where are you going? You need dry fries. You need this. I was like, bro. She's like, you got a whole ticket on fire. And I'm like, man. I remember coming home like, bro, do I still want to do this shit? Like,
well, when you started that job?
Okay. So this is the first like stage that I ever did. For those of you who don't know, the stage is like the cooking interview where you show your skills.
Yeah, they get free. We're going to talk about my stage quickly, but they don't pay you.
No.
And sometimes it can be as much as a week.
Yeah.
And you don't get paid shit.
So I'm doing the stage to get this job. I was shocked that they called me. Like, I was shocked. But you know, I go in and Trina's there and she's like I meet Chef Willie, he's the head chef, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna leave you with Trina. And I'm like, where the fuck is the chef going? At the time, I didn't realize that like the executive chef pretty much did paperwork and ordering, like cooked occasionally, mostly when testing the recipes, and then it's everybody else's job to cook. So she's like telling me to cut stuff. Y'all, I took knives to a cooking interview and they were dull.
Oh, girl.
I couldn't even cut an onion.
That's very embarrassing. Listen, the difference between a professional chef and a home cook is our knives are sharp.
My knives are always sharp. But at the time, I didn't even know how to sharpen a knife. And I didn't know the knives weren't sharp.
Oh my God. Well, you also didn't know. See, this is the difference between having a culinary degree and not, is that there is a lot of French terminology just because the French were kind of the ones that actually figured it out and made it consistent, because the recipes didn't used to exist. People would be like, just put some shit in there, put a knob of butter and a cup of flour, and nothing was consistent. So a Scofie is like, this will not stand. And went and like made it so that it was standard, and we have standard measurements and things now. But we use all that French terminology. So, Robert, what did you used to call the brown bits on the bottom of the pan?
Do you want to end our partnership right now? Is that what it is?
This is the line, y'all.
No. So I had never seen the word written down. So I was just using context clues. I do know what it's called now, but I thought it was called frond.
I just think that's adorable. I just think that's
You think it's
adorable.
adorable?
I think it's
You
adorable.
dragged my ass for years.
I'm never gonna stop. It's really cute. Now you know. See, this man is a very skilled chef and has worked at Michelin star restaurants. Let's talk about my stage. Okay. So I did one stage and one stage only, and here's why. So this would have been 1996. I was at the Cooking and Hospitality Institute of Chicago, which has now become the Cordon Bleu. But at the time, it was just chic. It was chic, though. It was very not chic. But in any case, so I was getting to the end of my professional cookery because I just graduated from college. I didn't need a degree, so I was going for the professional cooking certificate. And so at the end of it, I was looking for a job in a kitchen.
Right.
So for a hot minute in Chicago, we had a Spago. We had a Chicago Spago. Wolfgang Puck Spago. Now, Wolfgang Puck was not the chef in charge there. It was another guy whose name I shall not give you which will become clear. So I went to like the internship office or whatever, and I was like, do you guys have any like internships or any jobs? And they're like, well, you've got 4.0. You should really go and do a stage at Spago in their pastry department. I was like, well, that is dope. I would love to do that. Mm-hmm. So this was a Saturday night. I came in to start my stage, and I came in around like prep time. So it'd been like maybe 2:00 in the afternoon or something like that. And there's this young woman who's like, fantastic. We're going to teach you how to make the things. Now, they were famous at the Chicago Spago for their chocolate souffles they had figured out a way to basically cook a souffle or prepare it in such a way that they could just fire it and it would be ready on demand. I didn't learn how they did it though. Because basically my job was prepping all these sheet pans with silpats, and that was the first time I actually got held a silpat in my hand, and I was like, oh, I did it so fast. And of course, now we got like 82 of these. I got so many silpats that my husband uses them to make his weed gummies. You know, I got so many silpats, you can't even believe it. But at the time, I was just like, oh. And they had all these like little copper dishes that they were using to make everything. Everything was so spotless and awesome. This dude came in and was mopping every 10 minutes. I was like, this is the kitchen of my dreams. Now, my job, they were like, we don't really have time to teach you how to do any of the actual shit. So we're going to have you just make chocolate shavings or whatever. So I'm like literally just smearing chocolate on silpat and making chocolate pearls for hours and hours. And they're like, okay, so at this particular restaurant, they had an open, like the concept was that you could look into the kitchen. So the final pass was actually all open onto the dining room. And you could actually look, there was like a window, you could look into the kitchen. That was very in the 90s, right? And so the pastry cook was like, okay, I want you to shadow me. So you come behind me and I want you to watch what I do with plating, and I'm going to let you do some plating. So we're getting everything ready at the station, and you know, the dessert is the last thing that gets ordered, right? So there is a lot of standing around. So at one point, the pastry cook goes back to get something, and I'm just kind of standing there. And here comes the executive chef, and he's like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, I'm Kimber. And he's like, "Why are you standing there?" And I'm like, I don't know. He's like, "Get out of here. She's fired. This is unacceptable. We can't have people just standing around."
I don't even work here.
And that is how I got fired from Spago before I was even hired at Spago. So Wolfgang Puck, you can go fuck yourself and all the people that came in there with you. But I will like to point out that the restaurant closed shortly thereafter. So it worked out fine anyway. And I became a lawyer. Spago, and she'll become a lawyer. That's on you, Wolfgang Puck.
You know the like most bullshit thing I've ever experienced in the kitchen. Like, so y'all, after law school, I graduated in 2013. I was a cook until 2017. I worked at a bunch of places. A lot of times I had multiple jobs. I've done hella stages at hella restaurants. Some of them don't exist anymore. But I remember this one place. It was Valentine's Day. I went, I did this stage. And because I was looking for a job, like my restaurant had closed actually. And so I was like, fuck, I need a job. So I'm looking, and no, that wasn't when the restaurant closed. I had gotten a new job at a new restaurant that's in the West Loop, really good. It's an Italian restaurant. But I was on the pastry team. That was my first pastry job. So I was super excited. And like the pastry chef loved me. She actually moved me from the night shift to the morning shift so that I could do the production. I made all the bread, I made the ice cream, I made cakes, I did everything. And I had to make crackers. Like we literally rolled out cracker dough and cut it. And
that's how you know it's haute cuisine when they're making their own crackers.
And we made this like anchovy focaccia every morning. Well, I made anchovy focaccia every morning. I made ricotta every morning for our ricotta cheesecake. It was wild, but it was amazing. And I remember when I first started training, now I know how to make excellent ice cream. This is the first time I ever made ice cream.
Oh no.
So I'm just sitting here, I'm just stirring and stirring and stirring. But I don't know that I'm supposed to be moving from the bottom. Like I'm like, oh, don't scrape the bottom because I might scrape up something that shouldn't be in it. So I'm not scraping the bottom of the pot. And I'm like, okay. So then I tempt the top of it.
Oh no.
The top of the ice cream, well, the anglaise was perfect. It was the perfect temperature. And then I sat around waiting for the chef to come around. And she came around and the sous chef came and they were like, okay, cool. And she goes to stir it and it's scrambled eggs.
Didn't you one time like leave the ice cream in the mixer too long and it turned into butter?
That was cream.
Oh, okay.
I was whipping cream to make mousse. And I whisked the shit out of it and it turned into butter. But that was my first that was about the opposite. That was my first cooking job. But so anyway, so that job, so like that cold snap came that year on the day that we were supposed to open. So, restaurants when they open, especially like big ass restaurants like this, they have some money set aside to pay you while they're not making money. But I mean, margins on restaurants are already pretty thin. So I go in, like I prep, I'm like going downstairs to get my check. And for some reason, the executive chef is handing out the checks. I don't think anything of it because I didn't know to think anything of it. And he's like, man, thanks, Rob. I was like, when is the schedule going back up? He's like, oh, the schedule's up. I was like, cool. I go and look, my name's not on there. And I was like, what's happening? Why's my name not on there? He's like, oh, there's going to be a meeting for everybody on the morning shift once y'all get changed. So just come back. Okay, so we sit in the dining room. He's like, I'm sorry, guys. The cold snap delayed the opening. There's no more money to just keep paying people the way we have been. Now, we done been prepping for the opening for over a week. You know what I'm saying? Like putting together the like pieces. We built this record. We put this kitchen together. Like the tables weren't even unwrapped. So he's like, I'm sorry, but we got to let the whole morning shift go.
Oh my God.
If you don't work dinner, you no longer have a job. I was fucking crushed. So then, so I'm looking for a job. Valentine's Day rolls around because that was like around mid-January. So I'm like, shit, I took a few weeks off. I ain't gonna lie. I took a few weeks off. I chilled. I played video games. I cooked for myself. I cooked for my friends. And then I was like, okay, I need a job because like rent is gonna be due again. So I go to this restaurant. Now I lived in South Shore already. I go all the way up to fucking Wicker Park because there was a stage and they were looking for a pastry cook. So I'm like, cool, this is like it. I'm ready to go in here and make ice cream. I'm ready to go in here and make bread, cakes. I learned how to crumb coat a cake. I knew how to frost it. Like I had learned so much in like the few months that I worked at that job. And so I go in here. There is no pastry stage. So I'm like, okay, but just in case I had taken my knives and stuff like that. So he was like, okay, I'm gonna put you on the hot appetizers because this is a big ass kitchen. Now, kitchens are generally very small and made for very small people.
Oh no.
But in this kitchen, the chef was fat as hell and half the cooks were fat as hell. Like I was one of the smaller people in the kitchen. Like that tells you how big the people in this kitchen were. And so I was like, actually, I might like this motherfucker. I'm not cramped in between this tiny line because there was no like, you know how like some lines it's like the stove and then your station and you got this much space. And it's like enough to turn around. Here it was like a wide open kitchen. So I'm like, cool. I go in there. Now, I went in there like 10 in the morning because it was supposed to be a pastry stage. So I'm helping with prep. And I'm wondering when I'm gonna leave. He has me stay all through service. Again, I was in that food industry mindset where you just like let people exploit you because that's how you make it in the industry.
Not anymore, kids.
Hell no, don't do that shit.
Don't do it.
But that's kind of what I thought I needed to do. So it's Valentine's Day. I ain't got nobody, so I'm like, whatever, I can be here. And I seared the fuck out of them scallops. He started talking shit to the cook who was supposed to be showing me how to do stuff and was like, how is this dude who's a pastry cook, how are his scallops better than yours? Then he had like this cauliflower steak that was on the hot appetizers. Mine, amazing. Because I had been a fish cook. So I had a fish spatula. So when I went to flip it, I had my tongs and my fish spatula. So I had a flexible spatula to not break the steak. Flip it over, it was nice and caramelized. It was beautiful. I was amazing. Per usual.
As per usual.
So then it's like time to clean up or whatever. And everybody's cleaning up. I clean up. And I try to talk to the sous chef. And he's like, oh, I don't have time right now. Okay, cool. So then I go and try to talk to the executive chef. He's like, oh, you need to talk to the sous chef. So I'm like, all right, who am I going to talk to? But I'm not trying to be a dick because I really need a job. And I want to work in this big ass kitchen. And I saw the desserts. I was like, these desserts are easy as hell. Like, easy. So so time comes. Eventually, I'm the only person in this kitchen. Like, all the people who get paid to be there are gone. I've been here like 14 hours. And I'm just trying to keep a good attitude. You know, I finished the prep or whatever that he has me doing, and I wipe up, and I'm like, okay, like, somebody need to talk to me. So I go talk to the chef, and he's like, okay, I gotta get home. It's Valentine's Day, but email me on Monday and we'll talk about like a start date. So I'm like, cool, I think I'm leaving with a job. So I go out, I see everybody at the bar getting a shift drink. So I'm like, cool, we get a shift drink. This is back when I drank. And no, not for me.
Oh, what?
No shift drink for me. I'm like, fine, whatever. Then somebody is like carrying like dishes back to the kitchen from the dining room, runs into me and drops a knife in my hand, slices two of my fingers. So now, but now my train is coming. And I'm like, shit, I gotta get on this train so that I can get onto the bus, or else I'm gonna have to walk 6 blocks home. So I just grab a bunch of fucking napkins. And I was in the kitchen, so getting cut wasn't that big of a deal. So I just wrapped it up and ran to the train. And then, so I follow up on Monday, and he's like, you didn't have a stage.
What? What are you talking? He just stole all that labor?
He stole 14 hours of my labor.
Ooh.
And then I found out, after talking to some other chefs, like once I found the job, they were like, oh yeah, never do stages around holidays. Because when you do stages around holidays, they never have any intention of hiring.
This is theft, straight up. Now, the pandemic has basically eliminated this thing because people do not have to work for free anymore. They're looking for bodies and they're willing to pay you now, right? So if you aspire, first of all, if you aspire to be a chef, don't go to culinary school. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Robert didn't go. to culinary school. I did, but when I went, it only cost $8,000. Now you could be looking at $40,000 a year to not learn how to cook.
Right.
It's like law school. Like, you'll be thinking like a chef, but we're not actually going to teach you how to cook. How dare you ask? How very dare you ask for us to actually give you practical experience? When I went to culinary school, you would start like either you would have class and then do practical, or it would be flipped. But either way, you were cooking 3 to 6 hours a day. If it was baking class, you'd have a couple hours of practical. No, you'd have a couple hours of like, we're going to learn about the theory, and then we're going to literally do it right now. Right. That would be the equivalent in law school of, you're going to learn the theory of how to cross-examine, and you're going to cross-examine a bitch in the next 2 hours. Right. It's going to happen. So that's what we did. And we were out here cooking all the time, but you don't have to do that anymore. It's literally not worth it. You could go and get a job just like Robert did, start on a station and work your way up. It's not worth it. Kids, don't go to cooking school. It's not worth it. You don't need to have a culinary degree and be in the kind of debt. Now, here's what they do. When I went to cooking school and I sat down, because like there was no, like, yeah, I could get loans and shit, but I did have to pay $8,000. There's no like scholarships for these things. These are for-profit schools, almost all of them. There may be a few that are nonprofit. There may be a few that are attached to some kind of a actual school. But for the most part, no, it's for-profit and you pay them. And you're going to pay a lot now. But when I sat down with the counselors, they pulled out this thing. They're like, executive chefs make this, sous chefs make this. And they didn't show us any of the actual jobs that we would be getting. Like, okay, in Chicago now, the minimum wage is $15. When I started cooking, it was not.
Same.
So the first job that I got was actually like out of cooking school. I got a job in the Sheraton, and that was a union job, $8.50 an hour, automatic overtime after 8 hours.
When did you start that job?
1997.
Okay. My first cooking job was in 2013 in Chicago. I made $9.50.
That tells you, but that's the thing. Having to pay $8,000 back on, and plus, let's not forget, I also had my Northwestern, like I had $10,000 from room and board. Like I got my tuition paid, but I had my room and board I still had to pay for. So I was already paying my student loans there. And then I had additional student loans that I had to pay from cooking school on $8.50 an hour, where you get laid off all the time. So anytime it gets slow, they lay you off. And especially in a union, if you come in lower. Now, let me just tell you about the worst part about having a union job. So now, as a chef, we're very used to doing these prep lists. So at the beginning of the day, the executive chef or the sous chef, whoever's in charge of that kitchen, is going to make a long ass list. Now, at the Sheraton, we had a team of about 10 of us in garde manger. That's pantry. We were doing the cold stuff, salads, fruit displays and fruit platters, cheese platters, anything cold like shrimp cocktails. We also did, anytime there was a bag lunch for a meeting or something, we had to bag the lunches. So we were very, very efficient. And our entire kitchen was refrigerated. So this is something that, like, if you're working in a cold medium, the entire room was refrigerated. We worked in a literal refrigerator. So it was very normal to have long underwear on year round, because we were working in like a sub basement. We were like 3 floors down. Oh my God, it was awful. Dark, windowless. And because not everybody worked the same shift, everybody else was on the 7 to 3. And for some reason they decided I would be on from 10 to 6, which initially is like, oh great, I can just roll it. I don't have to deal with the rush hour. Oh, no. So what ends up happening is there's a huge list of things to prep. And then at the end of the day, whatever's left would be the person who's left, moi, would have to prep. What does that mean for you as the person who's last on the list? It means you might find yourself with 6 cases of pineapples to cut and core and slice, or 14 cases of watermelons to slice up for the fruit displays. Or I still have nightmares about this. The time I had to cut 6 cases of red onions. 6 cases of red onions in 3 hours. And they were like, oh, Kimber, you can just use the electric slicer, no problem. But here's the thing. the iPod had not been invented yet. There was no radio in the kitchen. I had this like janky little Walkman that probably cost me $20 that ran on batteries and could not get radio on it. So I've had to be very careful what selection. So I find myself listening to like Depeche Mode 101, like the live album, volume 1. It's a 2 cassette set. So I'm listening to like, let's have a black celebration. And I'm like, what? My God, what? And I did slice off the tip of my finger.
Oh my Lord.
Which, as a chef, you learn you just got to put it under cold water till the blood stops.
Right.
Put a whole bunch of towel around it and shove 2 gloves on it. Another contributing factor to becoming a lawyer, although it didn't happen for 6 years. No, more like 7 years. It didn't happen for more like 7 years that I actually started going to law school. But these are the kinds of things they don't tell you about when you start working in a kitchen. And this is why a lot of people have left. And I think we had this conversation today earlier. Seems like a lot of the pros have dipped.
Yeah.
If you're noticing that things are taking longer and costing more, this is why, because they ain't staging people. They're literally, if you show up, you got a job. Don't waste your time going to cooking school, folks. Just show up. You've got a job. And it doesn't matter. But just know, you will off a part of your body. I can't guarantee it'll be connected to your hands. It could be your foot. Let me just say that the most valuable thing I did learn in cooking school was when you drop something, stab it back. If you drop a knife, don't try to catch it.
Never.
It's the best way to slice all the way through these tendons. If you drop a hot pan, let it fall. Let it fall. Now, here's the thing. As a shorty, he's a tallie. I'm a shorty. So the way that you can tell somebody has been cooking for some time is that it looks like they are self-harming. My arms were covered with what looked like I had sliced, but they were just blisters because my chef coat would fall down and I would be reaching up high and I was constantly burning myself. And in the heat of the moment, you don't notice until you go home and you're like, what the?
And isn't that wild how we would like burn the shit out of ourselves and not even realize?
Not even. I would have blisters everywhere.
Washing your hands or something. But on women, you're like, bitch.
Yeah, you're like, and sometimes it's a fairly deep cut, and you're just like, hell. It's just like a gaping wound. You just ran it under some cold water for a while and just got back to cooking. I mean, every single one of us has done what Robert did, where you go in and forget. Now, this is an actual apocryphal story that was told to me in cooking school. I don't know if it was true, but I think it was, because some idiot always does this. Apparently, 1 year in the first couple weeks of cooking school, some guy dropped something into the fryer and without thinking reached his hand in to pluck it out. And so, of course, the first thing that they did was they just took him and they threw his entire hand into the ice machine. I don't know if that's the proper way to deal with a 3rd-degree burn, but another thing.
Oh my God.
This is the best thing ever. Our chef told us about when he was in cooking school and how, please, if you are teaching people how to cook, don't ever do this, because this is just a dumb thing. And as hilarious as the story is, it could lead to some kind of TikTok challenge that's just going to go completely awry. So this is what happened. So when he was learning how to cook, they were like, chef, how do we know how to temp the oil? Instant read thermometers hadn't been invented yet. And a lot of people, like, you learn how to temp things based on like, oh, this is how you know it's well done. This is how you know it's medium. This is how you know it's, whatever. They do different types of things like that. This guy was like, oh, you just put your finger in like this. So the chef goes up to the boiling hot oil and pokes his finger in. And everybody's just like,
oh.
So listen, if you want to be a joke chef, feel free. But just know, there are idiots out here on TikTok who will try that shit, okay? And they won't tell you that they're using a prosthetic finger. Please don't do that. Don't do that. That's an abomination unto the Lord. So that's just a taste of some of our war stories. Do you have any more like pièce de résistance stories to share?
So this was terrible, but it wasn't like exploitative in my mind. I can't even remember the name of the place, but it was like up in Wicker Park. A lot of
Again.
restaurants were in Wicker Park.
They still are.
And I don't think this restaurant exists. But it wasn't because it was a bad restaurant. Like there's things that I learned there that I still do at home. But so I was like doing a line cook stage, and what did I do? And so like, oh, it was, remember I bought those long ass tongs instead of normal ones.
Yeah, they were very long, y'all. They were like 18 inches. They were longer than my arm. I'm just like,
They
were
ridiculous.
what are you doing? Are you
They didn't fit
fancy?
in my knife bag.
That's some long ass tongs.
So I go, and I had just bought them because like they told me to bring tongs. I didn't know. I was just at Northwest Cutlery, like buying shit. I didn't know.
Although to be fair, Northwest Cutlery is dope. Like
I know,
you can get
I
literally
to the burbs.
I mean, if you can get out there, it used to be within like we could take the CTA, but now you need a car. But it is dope.
But so I was just buying shit. So I go up in here, and the sous chef is super cool. Like the cook he put me with was cool as hell. It was actually a really fun stage. But I had never worked over a grill before. And like, I'm like grilling mushrooms or some shit. I don't know what I was grilling. But I remember like my hand was cooking. And I was just like, how the fuck do y'all do this all day? Like, I'm sitting here like, can't be a bitch, can't be a bitch. Like, it was, and it was like actually like a wood burning grill.
Oh dear.
Like we had to keep putting wood in to keep it going. It was amazing. It smells so good in there. So good. But like they also had this like thing that they put on the burgers called like melting onions.
Oh.
And they would take these red onions and they would slice them pretty thick and throw them into, what is that, a 6-pan? Like the tall 6-pan? And just dump a bunch of clarified butter on it.
Shit.
And stick it at the back of the flat top.
Oh my God.
And
They
so
were melting onions.
And so then when you pulled it and you put it on the burger, when somebody bit into it, it just like melted. It was so good. And that was also the first place I had
a butter booger.
Tomato jam.
Ooh,
they put a tomato jam also. And like I got to make that. And it was tomatoes, bacon, brown sugar, some Worcestershire, garlic, you know, the stuff. And then that was when I learned like how to make an aioli.
It's just fancy mayo, y'all.
But I didn't even know how to make mayonnaise. So I was
it can be difficult. Mine turned green one time, but it wasn't because I did anything acidically. Okay, here's a hot tip. If you are in cooking school, use a Sharpie to mark your things. Don't put green nail polish on them.
Oh, dear.
Oh, yeah, the green nail polish went into my fucking mayo.
Oh, my God.
Listen, we all make some bad choices.
But once they taught me how to make aioli, I was like, bitch, I'm making aioli whenever I feel like it.
You can't stop him. He puts aioli on all the things.
I do it. People love it.
It's good.
But oh no, we just wanted to like give y'all a little snapshot of like why we say chefs. I mean, now we're pretty much just food critics. Even though we can cook our asses off, it's just like, but why?
We will do some cookery for the holidays for sure. I don't know if we're gonna get around to videotaping it because I'll probably be high. That's just facts.
Surrounded by people who are my family and I love them.
So thank you for joining us as always, all three of you. We very much appreciate it. Definitely, if you're not one of those three, won't you please like and subscribe? Like button, I guess. Follow us on Twitter as long as it exists, which it may not by the time I put up this video, at 420 Attorney Chicago. And you can check us out on LinkedIn. I won't read it, but feel free to check. I'm sure you'll see what color my hair was in 2019, which is the last time I updated LinkedIn.
We're also on Instagram, Vanguard Advocates Law, and also that same thing on the other part of Meta.
You can hire us to be your attorneys. I know we talk a lot of shit around here, but we actually do law.
We be doing some lawyer, and that's why it's so long.
We got you. Are you? Did you have a DUI? We got you. How about you need an expungement? We got you. Are you a murderer? We
Allegedly.
allegedly we don't do this pro bono. We do this pro bono. But if you need us to defend, we do have a murder trial coming. We will talk about like how to handle murder. I think it'll be interesting to take people through, because I just want to make a quick aside here. A lot of people on LawTube, a lot of y'all on LawTube, when do y'all got time to practice law? Because it seems like you're up in here doing these live streams a lot. And like, when are y'all actually in court? Because my ass is in court daily.
Right.
So how is it that you guys are in here at 8 o'clock in the morning doing live streams? I just want to know, because I would like to have that kind of ability to multitask, where I can also be in eviction court and be showing up for family law court and be preparing for a murder trial while somehow watching 6 different trials. And I'm not a criminal attorney of any kind, but I will wax nostalgic about literally all the things. So I just want to know, because all y'all are out here beefing, won't someone beef with us?
Who's bourguignon?
I want that Wellington. I want it rare and bloody. So won't one of y'all LawTubers just please beef with us, because we are bored. We ain't got no beef with nobody, and I just want to have just tiny little bit of beef, just a soupçon, just a petit peu. So thank you. That'll wrap it up for us. We will be back. Do you have questions about cooking that we may or may not choose to answer? Put it in the comments.
We'll definitely give our opinion. Will we give you facts? I don't know.
And that's it. Thank you once again for joining us on the Sous Chef. I was, as always, Chef Kimber.
I'm always Chef Rob.
And you'll see us next time right here on the Sous Chefs.